Okay, yes, okay, okay. So here we start today the fourth session of this course. So now you see, now we have come to the point till we started talking about BCE 3000, BCE 2500, BCE 1000. So we started talking about that kind of timelines which are very close. So when you tell BCE 1000, it is only just 3000 years before now. In a schema of a universe which is 1380 crore years, or an Earth which is 450 crore years, 3000 years is jujube. Nothing. Right? Okay. So that is time, like, people did not know what was happening. They're just living in this earth. Lot of things happening. Sometimes it rains, sometimes climate changes, sometimes there is flood. Human, they were not able to figure out. So that is the time people started worshipping nature, because they thought there are some kind of forces at play, which is true. But what are those forces? They don't know. Then whatever they were not able to understand, they started worshipping. But then slowly, people started developing the so-called knowledge. They started trying to understand what is happening, why it is happening, you know. And one of the most important such knowledge was shape of the earth. Okay, why do you think, like, shape of the earth is spherical? Why do you think it is so critical?
Gravity can play will it to the spherical shape.
No, that you are telling why spherical shape. What I'm asking is why that knowledge is so important to know that earth is spherical.
For directions.
For directions, yes, for directions. If you have to travel, if you have to move from one part to another part, these sort of things are important. So what do you think led to people believe that earth is spherical? Because the normal common sense tells you that wherever you look, it looks flat, right? Wherever you look, it looks so very flat. So that time there were theories that earth is so flat. So when you just walk, there's an end. From there, you'll fall down. So that was a theory in many ancient practices. So there is an end. Even in our places, you might see there were prohibitions for people to cover. Like, you should not travel 7 seas. You should not cross 7 seas. They thought after 7 seas there is no earth. After that, patak, you fall down. Where you fall down? Oh, no. Right? So this was one of the first very important knowledge, that earth is spherical. Okay. So now let me ask you, what would have made them realize that earth is not flat?
So, because they might have traveled from one point and then came back to the same point.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's a good point. But let me tell you, this knowledge was available maybe much earlier than 1000 BC. 1000 BCE, which means 10th century BCE, before that. Now, the traveling around the world, you need, for short distances, always people used to travel in ocean and all. But for long distances traveling in all, it started happening in much later. It started happening in much later, maybe 7th century, 8th century CE or AD. So this knowledge was there much before. Yeah.
Shadows. They
Yes.
might have calculated where the light is falling and might have noted that the earth is spherical.
How can from the light you can find out earth is spherical?
Because I've read in a book that one person calculated the angle of inclination of the earth by looking at the shadows of a
You are
person.
right. You are right. We will talk about that person also in this course. You are right. But we knew, it's a very brilliant point, but people knew about the spherical shape of earth even before that. You are talking about a gentleman called Eratosthenes of
Yes.
Greek.
but the church killed him because the church used to believe that Earth is flat. So the church killed him.
That is also not right. That's also not right. Okay, you have some point in that there is an issue with regard to church, with regard to universe and system, solar system and all, but that is not regard to flat Earth.
So if the Earth is flat, then how will there be day and night? Like,
So if people thought, yeah, that's a good point. So what people thought you are flat, sun is coming from east, going like this, full day, and going beneath, that is night. See, that is how the normal feeling, like when you look at it, sun is coming and going like this, right? So you will naturally feel sun is rotating Earth. See, when commonsensically, when you look at it, it feels like sun is rotating Earth. Yeah, somebody was telling. Yes.
Sir, in the past, it was told that Earth was the center of the solar system in the past.
That is right, but that and this are two different things. That and this are two
Here
different
it is a
things.
But here it is a factor because when sun only, as you said, sun only can rotate around the Earth.
Yeah, you are right.
As
You are right. But my point is that is an entirely different issue. Who is rotating whom? That is the structure of the solar system. But even the basic shape of Earth, that itself was a very important finding. Okay. Now, that is why I'm asking this. You have to appreciate the effort put in by so many ancestors. Okay, how logically they thought, the critical thinking they had, how each of the simple knowledge which we see today is been so precious. Okay, now you tell me, how do you know your shape?
By looking at the mirror.
By looking at the mirror. Is there any mirror in the universe where you can look the Earth size, Earth shape?
No.
Are you sure? Rishikesh has got a clue of it. Yeah, Mega, yes.
can you repeat the question?
No, one second. Mega, yeah? Mega, what are you telling?
I don't think there's any mirror to see how big Earth is.
Oh, I'm not able to decipher her sound. Can somebody tell what did she tell? Mega, can you type, please? I couldn't decipher what you said. Ah, yeah. See here, Clemmy comes with, and Rishikesh and Clemmy comes with some interesting answers. I'm not sure whether they had attended this previous class from they got, but if they got it themselves, that is beautiful. Okay. Then you see, that is what is a mirror in the nature. Okay. You see the mirror, the shape? Inside the moon, exact round, this is Earth, and this curved surface, it is slowly coming, and this is the other side. Can you feel, this black spot inside the moon is Earth. Right?
Yes, sir.
For that, first you should understand how eclipse is happening. So even before that, people thought eclipse is a big snake coming and eating sun, right? Or moon. So after that knowledge that eclipse is only an alignment of sun, moon and earth is when this knowledge can come. So that is how science develops. You build one knowledge, then on top of that you build another knowledge, on top of that you build another knowledge. That's how knowledge stacks up. Right? You can't have one special knowledge. That is when people tell, oh no, I read in one book that in BC 1500 a person flew, which means aeroplane was there in BC 1500. See, even in books from Greek time and much before, there were some images of people flying. It is like telling that, oh, I saw the movie Yentiran. So after some 500 years, let us assume a robot and another robot loves each other and marries. And somebody tells, no, actually Shankar, the movie maker, knew 500 years back that this is happening. He knew the technology. Or I know Andrew Konyapan, so in that also it is happening. See, imagination and science are two different things. So you can imagine many things, but if it has to have a working system, you need lot many things. It's a series of knowledge. You can have one knowledge of aeroplane alone in BC 1500 or BC 2000. Because for that you need engine, you need fuel technology, you need to know the forces, how to calculate, you need to know energy power equation. So without all those things, you can just have this, right? Okay, so that is what we call as rational thinking. Get it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What could be the another compelling evidence that Earth is spherical? Because different parts of the world, different people have found out similar things in different times. That's how knowledge emerges. Yes.
The edges of the, if we look, the boundary is a curved one, if we look clearly.
Yeah, exactly. So how
We're
did we?
traveling from a
Yeah, you are right.
traveling from a bus, and then if we see outside, then we'd observe that there's a curve, something, I don't know what it's.
Beautiful point, but there, you know, there are no buses at BCE 1000, but there was something else to travel.
Bots.
Boats, right? So that was a second thing, right? You have boats. So when people travel, you know, so there is something called North Star. I don't know whether you know this guy. Okay, it's a very important person. Okay, so so this North Star is something we tell that when you move away from North Star, from North Pole, you will see that the height of North Star is increasing. So people who are traveling in boat observed that when you travel towards North Pole, the star is coming down. This is not possible, right? If Earth was flat, you would have observed it all at same height. So that's why people used to use North Star at that point for knowing whether they're lost in the sea. Okay, so that is called Alpha Polaris. So this was another very important point. And the third point also, what another aspect of what Ayati told just now. See, when you look at, if you look at places like our Sri Yash place, like Kanyakumari and all, so if you look at such kind of spots, you will see a vast horizon of sea. So when you see the ship coming or a boat coming, actually you will see the front tip first. So if you go and spend some time, you'll see the tip first. Then slowly after some time you will see the full boat. See, if Earth was flat, you should see everything at one go. So that is happening because from this curve it is coming up. So you should see a long horizon. See, if you see, you can see when the boat is coming up like this. First, you will see the front tip. Slowly, you will see the full stuff, right? So as you can see, these are what is called critical thinking. That's what Srikanth was telling. So you can see boat and tell that, oh, fine, boat is coming. Which fish I would be bringing here? Maybe chala or aila or chalo. Let us make fish fry today. Or you can also think by telling, why is that tip coming? These things. Okay. So that is the thing of perception, right? How you look at things. Same thing. You remember Srikanth was telling you. Same thing. When two different people look, you can look at it two different matters. Understand? Okay. So moving on, this is the time, like we talked about 4 major civilizations, then some American civilizations. Most of the civilizations actually, because of so many reasons which we don't know, which we know, something like climate changes and something like attacks by some other species, something like scarcity of food, most of the civilizations got extinct. after some time, maybe 1000 BCE, 1500, even before that. Most of the civilization which we were talking, okay? But some of the civilization continued, but they had their own peak times. And then that is the time, say after 10 BCE, 10th century BCE, which means 1000 BCE, is yeah, Rishikesh is right. The position of North Star is changing. We will talk about that in the coming classes. Okay, that's a phenomenon which we'll talk about. Okay, right. That is not different perspective. That is a fact. Okay, okay. So now towards the 10th century BC and all after that, we saw the rise of what you can call as first scientific revolution. Okay, so in all the previous civilizations also there were advancements in science, many things they found out. But most of the things, as you can see, they developed calendar to know do farming, and they developed number system for counting and trade. It is for their livelihood needs. They are making things for their livelihood needs. We realize that how Chinese, because of their superstitions that houses should be northwards, they developed compass. So many such things also contributed. But then in the civilization which we are talking about now, they started thinking, how is universe function? Who all are there in this universe? Are we alone? And the most important question humans always ask. What is that?
Is there any extraterrestrial organism?
Is there Ben? What is that?
How did we form?
We form, right?
There are aliens.
Are there aliens? Bit more philosophically, if you look at it. Bit more philosophically, if you look at it. In fact, that is how all these religions and all started, their theories and formations.
Why did we form?
Yeah. Why are you here? What is your purpose? Why for like you are taking birth and after that you go to school, okay, maybe that time it's a different school, and then you write assignment and then you go and attend grammar classes, then you play and somebody beats you, you marry and you get kids and then you die. Why for? What for? What's the purpose of your life? Right? So that actually points to many other questions. So you have to understand one thing. It is not like how you learn in school, okay? The scientific development. One guy gets up in the morning by telling that, let me research and develop some chemistry today. Okay, so that the Elisa in class 8 can get the question in the question paper. Okay, so science doesn't get developed like that. This chemistry, physics, business is only in the school, so that it is for administrative easiness. Okay, so the knowledge when people get developed, they start asking questions like this. What all you asked? Are we alone in the universe? Why are you here in the first place? How is the earth is sustaining? All these kind of questions. Okay. So this civilization which we are talking about is what we can call as the first scientific revolution. Now, if you ask me, I would tell they stayed till around 2nd century kind of AD or what we call a CE. If they would have continued, probably say 2, 3, or 4 centuries more, then maybe what we call as the scientific revolution in 16th century would have happened. So it is the most advanced scientific civilization. I hope you know what we are talking about. I hope you know which scientific revolution, which civilization we are talking about, from say 10th century BC to 2nd century AD. Anyone?
Greek
Yeah,
civilization.
yeah. Like Shivananda says, that's what we call as the Greek civilization. Maybe somebody who came very, 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 very close to whatever we have achieved today. So you might have heard these people who were sort of the gurus at that time. Okay, the first person Socrates. So he was the person of questions. Keeps on asking questions. Socrates keeps on asking questions. Why we are here? What all you asked? Are aliens there? Keeping on asking questions. Unfortunately, we don't have much written record of Socrates because he hasn't left anything written. He hasn't left much things written, and we know about him based from a book which his disciple, his Shishya, wrote. A very famous book called Republic. In that, he portrays multiple characters, and that for people and the dialogues among them, they ask all these questions, whatever you ask, and one person answers, and that person and that character is Socrates. That's how we know about Socrates. This thing. Okay, so I hope you know who is his disciple. Very famous disciple of Socrates. One of the most famous philosophers of all times. Philosopher, scientist, everything. Not Archimedes.
That is it Aristotle.
Aristotle is disciples disciple.
Plato.
Yeah, so who that is? Mr. Plato. Okay, so Plato believed in a different theory. So Socrates believed that we can ask questions and find out how universes function. Keeping on asking questions and find out how universe functions. Plato told a different thing. Okay, so Plato told the entire universe runs on perfect mathematics. He told mathematics is the core of universe, and there is a perfect symmetry in everything. You can observe maths in the movement of each and everything. And he told whatever you see in front of you is actually a replica of something original. For example, he told you are seeing a table, but this table, there is something called an original table with perfect shape and perfect figure. The carpenter who makes it is trying to make a perfect table, but it is not perfect. So he told there is something called a perfect universe, and that your duty, your job as a human being is to find out what is that perfect mathematics. So that is what we call in philosophy as dualism, Dvaita, Dvaitam, or dualism. Okay, so he was telling what you see around is not the actual world. There is something a perfect stuff, and you have to find out that perfect stuff. It is perfect mathematics. You have to find that mathematics. Once you find it out, you will know how the universe is functioning. Okay, and in very similar time, even in India also, our people used to have something very similar. We used to tell in our philosophies that whatever you see around are Maya. Okay, whole world is Maya. There is something called a perfect place. And one of the Keralite was the proponent, one of the most biggest proponent of the theory. Do you know?
Aryabhatta.
Yeah, not Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta cannot be said Keralite. That's only a rumor.
Bhaskaracharya.
Is also not a Keralite. So this theory, what we call as Advaita. Advaita. Dvaita is two. Advaita means not two. So they tell that you and universe are not two different things. You are the same thing. That was Shankaracharya. Okay, what we call as Adi Shankaracharya. It's in Kaladi, this place, right? Very close to the house of Elisa and Mekanda. No. Alva, Perimbavur. Right? Yeah, you are near your place, right? So, like you spend so much time going to that Oberon Mall and Lulu Mall, and not spend some time going to Kaladi also, Vinayak. Okay.
I don't go to malls.
Okay, fine. Right. Okay, so that was Plato's theory, and then Plato has actually so many contributions, so many things, which is a topic by itself. to discuss about that. But okay, we don't want to get into the depth of it. But it's all philosophy, science, and everything. But he was the guy who told mathematics is the core of universe. Okay. Then is the time this gentleman comes. Okay, Mr. Aristotle, arguably one of the most intelligent people, one of the most intelligent human beings the world has ever produced. Arguably, one of the. Okay. So Aristotle went one step ahead. He told, well, you can't just tell that there is a perfect world and studying that is important. I can't agree with it. He told you to observe what is happening in the earth. You go and observe what is happening. From there, you have to develop theories. And he started observing. He started observing all the animals around. And he just started developing theories. That's why today's botany, zoology, and everything Aristotle we consider as one of the father figure. He started observing the flora, fauna, how plant and species is working. Okay, and he told this very famous theory. See, even before him, there was in the Greek people used to tell that the universe is made up of only two things. Even today we believe that. The whole universe is made up of only two things. Do you know what? Even today we agree with that.
Plants and animals.
Matter and energy.
Matter and
Antimatter.
Energy.
Energy. Matter, I agree.
Dark energy, I think.
Dark energy. Okay. Nobody can better it.
So living and
Antimatter.
non-living things.
Living and non-living, you are bringing it to Earth. Earth is a very small player in this whole scheme of things.
The heat and light energy.
Matter
Matter and antimatter.
and antimatter. Matter, I agree. Okay. Antimatter, you can probably consider as a brother or. Okay.
Force.
Yeah. Yes. Who said that? Force? Ben. Who said that? Force?
Time and space.
Yes. Okay, so we tell it is matter and force. Okay, like what Ben told. That even during that time, Aristotle had also stated that the whole universe is made up of matter and force. We will learn in the later part of this class how these two things made the entire universe. Okay, but that time he was also right. So then it comes the question: which all are the matter, and which all are the force? So that time the definition was that the matter is four. You have sky, and you have fire. Okay, sky means air. You have air and fire, and you have water and soil. These are the four kind of matter as per them at that time, right? So here in India also we tell something very similar.
So can you repeat once more?
Panchabhuta.
Panchabhuta. Yeah, Sri Lakshmi, what we are telling is what all are the matter. So the matter, like in Greek stuff, they used to tell the four matter, that air and fire, and then water and soil. Okay. So in our civilizations, we also tell Panchabhuta. We add one more thing to it. We add sky. We add sky to this. Okay. So these are the five Panchabhuta stuff, but they thought it is four. And then Aristotle told which are the forces. He told only two kinds of forces, up and down. He told air and fire has a tendency to go up. That is why air is going up. That is why when there is a fire, the smoke is going up. And water and soil has a tendency to come down. That is the force which earth accepts. Why it is? Don't know. That is how it is. The first two questions. What, how? So this was his theory. You understand? So then this came by telling, then how are these planets and all rotating? Because they are not going up and down. So he brought a fifth element into picture. So he named it ether. Ether. Okay. So we will see in the later part of this course that ether business is actually a dangerous business. Actually, it took Einstein. It took Einstein in 20th century to come and clear this ether from the scene of science, which Aristotle put 2,300 years back. Okay. So this was his theory. So he has brought a theory in almost everything. Then he brought a final theory about movement and force. He told you need a force to move anything. To move anything, you need a force. So I'll launch a poll at this point. What is your opinion regarding it? I give 15 more seconds. Three more people to vote. For those who wants to vote for Nota is what I have given. I don't have a clue. The Nota people, okay. Right, okay. So let me conclude. So three of them didn't vote, I think. Okay, so this is how you voted. Okay, this is how you voted. Okay, so I just want one each person from the agree gang and disagree gang to talk. One person who wrote agree, can you come and tell your reasoning? Anyone? Anyone?
So if you want to move something from one place to another, you need to push or pull it. Otherwise, it won't move with any magnetic force something.
Okay, so Sri Lakshmi says, if you want to move something, push or pull, you need to apply a force. Okay, so disagree gang, who is representing them? Oh, disagree gang, they don't want to talk. That's bad.
Sir,
Yes. Yeah, Vinayak.
sir, you actually you don't need any contact forces to move any object. You can also use magnetic force or electrostatic force to move objects.
That was not the question at all. Question was not
Yeah,
whether
but
you need contact force or non-contact force. Question was whether you need force at all to move something. That was Aristotle's theory. Do you agree? That kind of force is a secondary stuff. You agree? So there are some people who disagreed. Did you all change your mind because you are a minority?
Sir, why we can't think that why cannot it happen?
Yeah, I am asking you. No problem. I don't have a side into this. I am just waiting to hear your answer. What is your justification?
Because there can be ways in which there's no need of force. We don't know everything about what we are seeing.
Okay, so you have any example to it?
Just an assumption.
No problem. That's fine. No problem. A very valid assumption. Very valid assumption. Anybody else in disagree gang? You have any samples to it? Okay. Right. No problem. So that is one of the reason why I decided to take this course actually. So So this is what actually you all are supposed to learn in school of Newton's laws and all those things. But many times when you ask, do you need a force to move something? You are still with Aristotle. Okay, so that is 2,300 year back. Okay, so while we continue, we will learn some of the issues in the way in which we learn sometimes. Okay, so we have to understand the fundamentals. We have to keep on asking questions. When you learn something, you have to keep asking questions and get that basic correct. Don't by heart. If I ask you what is Newton's second law, you will tell like a parrot now. One person tell Newton's second law, those who have studied. Anyone who has studied Newton's second law, can you tell?
F is equal to ma.
Okay, the statement, do you remember?
Force is equal to
Yeah, that
mass
is
by
right. That is right.
acceleration.
Yeah, first law. Tell first law. Statement.
So every object has a force of attraction with which they attract every other object. I don't know the correct statement, but law of gravitation is the first law.
It is gravitation. No. Newton's law. Newton's law of motion.
First law is law of inertia, no?
Yes. Yes. Can somebody tell?
The body continues state of rest or uniform motion until opposite unbalanced force
Unbalanced force has.
Yes.
So for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, that is the third law. So whatever these people told is the first law. So all of you, if it comes in exam, you will write it and you will get full marks. All of you who have studied, you will know like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you will know this. Everybody in this motion will continue to be motion, right? But if the question is asked, do you need a force to move something? Most of you will tell, yes, I am with Aristotle. Okay. So first, I have to move you from Aristotle to Galileo, then from Galileo to Newton, then Newton to Einstein. We will do in the coming days. Okay, right. So one thing about Aristotle is, though he's a father figure, he has contributed so much. Almost all the things which he has found out, except this thing, except this matter and force, are the founding blocks of universe. And one more theory, Aristotle had developed something called a theory of friendship. I will give it to you as an assignment to you. That has nothing to do with science. Okay, Aristotle's theory of friendship, which people regard in very high today, very highest. People think that's very worthy friendship. Okay, it talks about 3 kinds of friendships. Okay, might be useful to you. So that is one assignment for you today. So now, moving on, during this period, Greek period, there were so many scientists, and their science we still study. Do you know this guy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So the geometry which you learn, yes, the geometry which you learn, part of it is still his. Euclidean geometry. The first person who defined line, point, all those things. Euclidean geometry, Euclid's axioms. Okay, and then exactly after some point, another person called René Descartes, he came and asked the Cartesian geometry. But Euclidean geometry still holds good today. Okay, right? And this gentleman, Pliny, there are 2 Plinies, Pliny the elder, Pliny the junior, considered the father of botany and zoology. You have to think, look at the year, almost 2,000 years before. Then this gentleman, I hope you know this person. Have you heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Who is he?
Father of modern medicine. He brings
That you have read what I have written, Avinash.
Religion and medicine. Segregation.
Segregation. Yes. Okay. Anybody's father or mother or brother, siblings, a doctor here? Anybody's siblings, father, mother, uncle, a doctor here?
I think oath, the doctor's oath, I think.
Yeah. See, when you complete MBBS, the oath which you take is called Hippocrates oath. Okay, Hippocrates, or just try to go and read it. What does it mean? So Hippocrates, still Hippocrates, yeah, I suggest that when the course of Dr. Rajiv called Brain and Enigma comes, which is one of the most popular courses in BrainNet, it is for slightly for higher classes, 9 to 12, maybe mostly for 11, 12. I suggest you attend that, and he covers that in detail. So Hippocrates is the person who brought the science into the medicine field. Till that time, people used to believe that you get a disease because of a curse from a divine force. There's a curse from a divine force, that is why you're getting a disease. It is Hippocrates who brought this concept by telling that there are microorganisms, you are getting disease because of them, you have to treat it. So he separated faith from medical science. Okay, that is why we still consider Hippocrates as a father figure in this stuff. Okay, then came after 3-4 centuries another gentleman called Galen. Very important person. Have you heard Galen? Okay, so what Galen did, Galen dissected other animals like monkeys. And his theory was that there are similarities between us and these animals. So if you dissect them and see what are inside their bodies, then you study the organs, then you can probably treat a patient much better. So Galen is the person who initiated this anatomy, what we call as anatomy. That's how you learn about brain, lungs, and all those things, which is the base of modern medicine. Okay, right? And then I hope you know this person.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Archimedes, yes.
Okay. Stays next to your house. How do you know him?
My geography book, sir. His name is
What?
Archimedes.
Okay. Okay.
Geometry box.
Okay. How do you know Archimedes?
Law of flotation.
No flotation. Okay. Can you tell what is that?
Sir, he is very famous for his geometry boxes.
Not I am asking about this Archimedes, the Greek Archimedes.
Thrust and lift.
Yes?
That buoyancy when he was
Buoyancy.
in a bathtub.
Yes. Bathtub story. Who will tell the bathtub story of Archimedes? Who will narrate the bathtub story of Archimedes?
So I guess, I'm not sure. There wasn't any water when he was about to bath. There wasn't any water. So he ran outside naked.
That is not right.
Sir, he has lot of theorems and axioms on geometry.
Yes.
So is it that when he filled a little bit of water and he got inside, the water overflowed inside the bathtub? He ran out and saved. He went out and saved him.
Sir,
Yes, let me. Yes.
sir, like he want to found the purity of his that crown. When he's bathing, he found that because of the dispersal of the water, but
They found the density.
Yeah.
and say
Correct. So that is the story. We don't know whether it is true. So it seems the king wanted to make a crown. So the goldsmith, when he made the crown, king had a doubt. Oh, did this person add some copper to the gold which I gave? So how will you test the purity, right? So in our house, many of our mothers and all, they will look at the gold, smell and tell whether it is pure, right? But that time they wanted to know how pure the gold is. But then how will you find out? It's very difficult because the shape of the crown is very complicated. Okay. So then he assigned Archimedes to find it out. So Archimedes knew that you have weight measurements. You can measure the weight of it, But then if you get the volume, you can check the density. The density of pure gold, and if you have added impure stuff like copper, it will vary. But how will you measure the volume? He was thinking about this. So that is what is critical thinking called, right? So when you go to bathtub and there is water, when you sit there and water splashes, what will you think, Vinayak? Vinayak. Yeah, you may
I
not.
don't know the story.
Yeah, you may not even think about there is water, there is level. You will be in your imaginary world thinking something else.
Sir, I know one thing. He just in the bathtub he tells Eureka.
Yeah. So, see, this guy, he was full in his mind, he was totally engrossed with this. So when he sat, when he was like, in the bathtub, when he was sitting, then the water came out. Then it struck him by telling, oh, this how much water has come out that could be equivalent to the volume of the body, like he. So he got this idea. Oh, Eureka! So the story is that he went out running naked, right? That is the story of it. Okay, don't try at home. Don't come and tell Sadish sir told to try the scientific experiments at home and I am trying, I will kill you. Okay, don't do it. Okay, so this is a story. Maybe it could be a myth, but the point is, from there he developed a principle that whatever this volume is equal to displaced water is not the principle. What is the principle? Principle is very important, and that is still true. We will stop with that today. That is still true. Now you tell me, when you put a stone in a bucket of water, why does the stone fall down, drop down?
Because it's heavier than the water.
High density.
No, it's the
Have more mass in one
density
specific
is
point.
lesser than the water.
Okay, so that means you are telling if you put something more denser than water in a bucket of water or in water, it will sink down. That's what you're telling, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. So why the ship doesn't sink? Ship is made of iron.
Because of its shape.
So it is not density. What matters? So it's not density. What matters?
The buoyancy force.
Yeah. So density is a simple answer which you are taught in lower classes, so that it looks simple. It is partly only true. Okay. So if you want to try this, I will tell you an experiment. Normally, when I used to take physical classes, I used to show that to kids. You have in your house the clay, which kids play that clay, colorful clay you get nowadays. With clay, you make so many things. Do you have at home? Okay. So do one thing. Take that clay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Put it as a ball and put in water. So it will fall in water. It will sink. Now, using that clay, you make a shape like a boat or a coracle like this, very thin. Now, make it very, very thin and make it like this boat, like this. And then drop it. Same material, density same, everything same. Once you make it very thin and make it like a boat, this thing shape, it will sink a bit, but it will not sink down fully if you make it proper. Right? Same thing like here. So what is happening here? Tell me.
Thrust.
Thrust. What does it mean? Can you tell in common man's language? Density. Okay.
Buoyancy.
Buoyancy. What? Buoyant force. What does it? Okay. What is buoyant force? Ben? What is meant by buoyant force? Ben?
So it's the force applied upwards by the water.
Which water? Which water?
In which the object is placed.
Displaced water.
Okay. Okay. So between Ananya came very close to it and Radish plugged it. Okay. So now it is like this. You have to understand why something first of all falls down. So when you put a stone, let us assume you put a stone in this water. So what will happen is when you put that stone, so this stone, let us assume the stone is falling like this. Okay, so stone is here. After some point, when the stone comes here like this, when it reaches here, the stone will displace water equal to the stone's volume. So the level will slightly go up because of the stone. If it is a very big stone, it will further go up, right? So how much is the volume of the stone? That much water that stone will displace. Okay. So what will happen is that the mass of the stone will act as a force downwards. There will be force downwards. What is that force called? Because of the mass of the stone, there will be force downward. That is the force, like when you put a stone up, that is where it is falling down.
Gravitational force.
So that is a gravitational force. So there's a gravitational force which is equivalent to the mass of the stone, which is trying to come down, but there is a force upwards. That force is equal to mass of the water the stone displaces. Or how much is the volume of the stone, that much volume of water, how much is its mass, that will act upwards. But who will win? Stone will win, because the mass of the water, which is equivalent to the volume of the stone, is lesser than the mass of the stone. So it falls down. But when you make the ship, if the ship is made of iron, if you just put an iron piece, same thing will happen. But when you made the ship shape like this, what happened? How much water it will displace? It will displace. Yeah, you see, whatever is marked, this much water it will displace. This much water it displaces. You see, this much water it displaces. So what will happen? There will be two forces. One force of the ship mass, which is acting downwards, which is what we call as gravitational force. Now, another force, which is the mass of this water, this displaces to upwards. So, depending on the shape of this ship, as the ship is more curved, it can displace more water. So, what will happen? At the point when it displaces this much water, this will balance, the upward force will balance the downward force weight of the ship. That is why the ship will come up to this point. So this is not just the mass of ship plus the people inside, plus all these containers inside. So this is how we decide how much container can go inside a ship. So we will calculate how much water the ship can displace. What is the mass of it? Let us assume it is 5 tons. Then we will see what is the weight of the ship. Let us assume it is 2 tons, which means 3 tons worth of material or container or people the ship can carry. Maybe some safety factor they will add. You understand? Do you understand? Right? So this upward force exerted by the mass of water displaced is what is called force of buoyancy. You get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I will leave you with an assignment. Why a dead body sinks in water and then comes up after 2 or 3 days or few days? When a dead body, because of water-related death or suicide, whatever it is, it's not a good example, I agree, but it's a relevant example. Normally it sinks down, but after a few days you will see it comes up and floats. Why? We will stop at this point. We continue to. Yeah, Megha.
Was that the assignment for today?
Yeah, I have given 2 assignments. There is no mandatory thing like you have to write all the assignments. Whichever assignments you like, you can attend. If you attend all, it is good. That you can. Yes, Rishikesh.
Can you please repeat all the assignments?
I will write. I will create threads. Discussion threads. I will create. I will create discussion threads. Any doubts?
Sir,